Lesson 40, person. Okay, in our last lesson, we took a few minutes to look at all the different forms of Josoi in one chart. In other words, we had learned those forms piecemeal over the course of many lessons, and then we took a moment to put them into a special chart so that we could see them all as a group. And the different forms of Josoi were arranged into that chart in a very special way to help us see the different forms in a certain pattern, in a more clear way, which we will discuss shortly. As we say here in the text, we have already covered the issue of singular and plural. We know all about that. But there's another important thing that we need to talk about verbs, and that is the issue of person. Verbs can be in the first person, second person, or third person. Verbs that are first person refer to the person who is speaking, that is, I or we. So if I were to say a sentence like this, I like chocolate, then in that sentence, I'm talking about an action or a behavior that I am doing, the speaker, that is. A verb that is in the second person is referring to the person that the speaker is speaking to. In other words, if I were to say a sentence like this, you like chocolate. In that sentence, I'm talking about an action or a behavior that you are doing, the listener listening to me talking. And verbs that are third person make reference to a person or persons that are being talked about. In other words, things like he, she, or it, or they. So if I were to say a sentence like this, he likes chocolate, then in that sentence, I'm talking about some other guy somewhere else. I'm the speaker, you're the listener, and it's not either one of us involved in liking the chocolate. It's a third party over there somewhere. He likes chocolate. So think of it this way. There are three parties involved: the speaker, the listener, and then someone else, someplace else, who is neither the speaker nor the listener. If something is being said in the first person, then the speaker who's doing the talking is talking about himself with words like I, or if he's talking about himself plus someone else, he'll say we. If something is being said in the second person, then the speaker is talking about behavior or action being done by the listener, the person that the speaker is speaking to. If something is being said in the third person, then the speaker is speaking to the listener, talking about a third party somewhere else, he, she, it, or they. So as you think about person, think about the different parties that are involved: the speaker, the listener, and then some other party somewhere else who is neither the speaker nor the listener. Now in our chart here, we have two columns, singular and plural, and then over to the left, we have three rows labeled with first person, second person, and third person. And then inside our chart, we have English pronouns. Pronouns like I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. And of course, the word y'all, which is our word from down south, where I grew up. Okay, the word I is a word that a speaker uses to refer to himself. So since the speaker is talking about himself, that's a first person type of word. And when you say I, you're just talking about one person, so that's singular. So I is a first person singular pronoun. Next we have you. Of course, in English, the word you can refer to just one person or plural, more than one person. But in this book, we're using the word y'all for plural you, and we're just using you for singular you. So here on our chart, we have you as the second person singular. If I'm talking to one person and I say, you like chocolate, then the action being described is the action being performed by the listener, not the speaker. So that is a second person way to say something. And since I'm only talking to one person, I'm describing the action of one person, that's singular. So second person singular is if I just say you and I'm talking to one person. Moving down one row, we see he, she, and it. These pronouns are used to talk about a third party. If I say she went to the store, then I'm describing the actions not of the speaker, not of the listener, but of yet a third party. So we call this a third person way to say something. And since I'm only talking about the behavior or action of one person, that's singular. So he, she, and it is third person singular. Moving to the top of the next column, we have we. We is still first person because it's someone talking about his own behavior. But if that person is representing a group, then the person might say we. So if you have a sentence like, we like chocolate, then the speaker is talking about his own behavior, so it's first person. But if the person is speaking not only for himself, but for someone else as well, he can say we, then he's talking about multiple people. So that's plural, yet it's first person. Moving down one row, we have plural you. This is second person plural. And as I said before, we're going to use the word y'all in this book to describe second person plural. So if I say a sentence like, y'all like chocolate, then I'm speaking to multiple listeners. I'm addressing more than one person, but they're still the listeners. So it's second person, yet at the same time it's plural. So second person plural, we'll use the word y'all for that. Moving down one row, we have they, which is third person plural. If I say they like chocolate, then I'm not describing the actions or behaviors of myself, the speaker, and I'm not describing the actions or behaviors of you as the listener. I'm describing the actions and behaviors of a third party, they. However, it's plural because I'm referring to more than one person. So this word they, that's third person plural. Now, by this point, if you are still listening to this recording, you may be thinking that I'm being a little bit too repetitive or breaking this down a little bit too much or too simply. But my goal here as an educator is to make this as clear to you as possible, because you may be at home without the benefit of a teacher. You may not be able to go to a Spanish class on your own. So I'm trying to explain these concepts as clearly as I possibly can for you who are trying to learn at home. On the next page, we have some exercises. In these exercises, the goal is to determine what word the subject of the sentence is, and then to determine if it's first person, second person, or third person, and then figure out if it's singular or plural. And as you do these exercises, it would probably be very helpful to you to refer back to this chart. Using this chart can sort of help you to visualize where each word fits in when you're thinking about person and number. So let's go through each of these exercises together. In exercise 1, we have I am tired. Now in this statement, we see the word I, and that's the speaker, the one saying this statement, talking about his own actions. In this case, it's a verb of being, or a linking verb, which is the word am. He's saying that he's tired, so the speaker is referring to himself. So that is first person, and since it's I, it's just one person being referred to. So this is first person singular. So the subject here is the word I, and it would be first person singular. In the next sentence, number 2, we have, you are really good at chess. The subject here of the sentence is you, and I'm assuming it's a singular you. It seems to be the kind of sentence that you would say to just one person. Again, we have a linking verb. The verb is are. So you are, when you say that, you're describing the actions or behaviors of the listener. So that's a second person way to say something. So number 2, you is the subject, and it's second person singular. In number 3, we have, she passed the test. The word she here is a pronoun that's referring to a third party. It's not the speaker talking about his own behaviors. It's not the speaker talking about the behaviors of the listener. but the speaker is talking about the behaviors of yet a third party using the pronoun she. So the subject here is she, the verb is past, and the subject here, she, is third person singular. In number 4, we have the pronoun we. We are going to school. That's a first person way to say something. The speaker is referring to his own behaviors. However, not only his own behaviors, but he's representing multiple people with the word we. So the subject here is we, and it's first person plural. In number 5, we have y'all have an expensive car. The subject here is y'all, and down south, they use this word to address multiple people. So in this sentence, the speaker is talking about the behaviors and actions of the listener. And not just one listener, but multiple listeners. So that is a second person way to say something. So the subject is y'all, and y'all is second person plural. In number 6, the subject is they. In this type of sentence, the speaker is not referring to his own actions. He's not referring to the actions of the listener, but he's referring to the actions of a third party, they. And it's not just singular, it's plural, because the word they refers to multiple people. Therefore, number 6, the subject is they, and it's third person plural. In number 7, we have the word he, and that's the subject of the sentence. That's a third person pronoun. The person who is saying this sentence is not referring to himself. He's not referring to the actions of the listener. He's referring to the actions of a third party, he. So in number 7, he is the subject, and that's third person singular. In number 8, we have the word it. That's the subject of the sentence. That's another third person singular pronoun, just like he or she. So in this case, the speaker is not talking about himself. He's not talking about the listener. He's talking about a third party, an inanimate object, in this case, a history book. He's saying it is a history book. So the subject of the sentence is it, and that's third person singular. In number 9, y'all is the subject of the sentence. Again, down south, that's used to address multiple people. So the sentence says, y'all really know how to throw a party. In this situation, the speaker is addressing multiple people, talking about their behaviors and actions. So that's second person, and since he's addressing more than one person, that's plural. So the subject is y'all, and it's second person plural. In number 10, we have, the flowers in your garden are very colorful. So the subject here is flowers, and the verb is are. In this situation, the speaker is not talking about his own actions. He's not talking about the actions of the listener. He's talking about the actions of a third party, in this case, flowers. So the subject here is flowers, and it's third person, and it's plural.